Thanks so much for joining me today. I'm Colleen Klimczak. I'm an organizational and productivity coach and a certified professional organizer. I own Peace of Mind Professional Organizing, LLC. Since 2003, I've been helping my clients live better lives through organizing and organizational and productivity coaching. I support my clients and my community with coaching, in-person and virtual organizing, my weekly podcast called Your Organized Life with Colleen Klimczak, a free weekly virtual productivity session called Finish Line Friday, a free weekly email newsletter, and regular content on Facebook and Instagram. I also offer presentations and professional development to groups and companies. And now that my website is relaunched, coming soon, I will also be launching my membership circle to support my community with even more coaching and productivity content. Want to finish strong this week? Join me for Finish Line Friday every Friday morning at 9 a.m. Central for a 2-hour productivity session. Drop me an email at colleen@peaceofmindpo.com to request my Zoom room link or follow the Zoom room link on my Instagram or Facebook pages. Welcome to Your Organized Life, episode 128. I am using some medically necessary downtime. I don't actually get sick time because I'm self-employed, but those words sound better than the actual truth, which is I had another basal cell carcinoma removed, this time from my shoulder. I'm not allowed to do much for a couple of weeks. And so I had a week of not seeing clients in person, and instead I have made some progress on some projects. I am grateful for the opportunity to do so, though I really wish I could do it without having to have minor surgery again. My first project was catching up on my inbox, my long neglected inbox. If you are one of the many people I have neglected, I apologize, and I'm working on it. Kelly, we're going to put that in quotation marks, Kelly, not her real name, attended a presentation in late January, and she reached out a few weeks later and asked specifically, how do you keep a running to-do list? I always have such a long list, and the items end up on multiple sheets of paper. So let's talk about that, right? First of all, so that I can finally answer Kelly's question. I'm so sorry, Kelly. And secondly, because I haven't talked about them lately, and to-do lists are great to talk about because they are vitally important to getting things done, the right things done. And as I read this email from Kelly, I recognize that she uses a paper to-do list. I often get asked about paper versus digital to-do lists. And though I am a big fan of technology and my own lists are digital, this question doesn't actually have anything to do with technology or paper. Typically, questions about to-do lists have more to do with priorities and scheduling than they do about, paper versus tech, even if it doesn't seem that way. But let me tell you why I'm thinking what I'm thinking. Our to-do lists are reminders of the different tasks we have to complete. On any given day, they can be a mix of reminders. Today's list could include take the trash cans out to the curb, or go to the grocery, or call the pharmacy about my prescription and then pick up the prescriptions, right? Maybe there's an item there to finally respond to the email regarding to-do lists, or maybe that's just me. The actual item on the list was 30 minutes, dig out the email inbox. Now, I don't like to leave things untended, and I certainly don't like to leave people with questions, especially after they take the time to attend a presentation and actually reach out to me. So occasionally I have to suck it up and be embarrassed to say that it took me 2 months to answer an email, but at least I finally answered it. And I really wanted to be able to cross that task off the to-do list. Also, thinking back to my conference last month and how my fellow organizers, and even others since then, report that managing email is their biggest productivity challenge, I feel like managing email is likely an upcoming topic for another article and another podcast episode. But I digress. So for today, to-do lists, right? and setting priorities around urgency and importance, and then also scheduling them. So in a recent group, I've talked about them in recent episodes. In a recent group for the Highway Construction Careers Training Program, there was one of my students who, on the first day, made the mistake of shaking his head no when I asked, does anybody make lists? The poor guy. The running joke then was for me to gesture at him whenever I mentioned lists for the next 2 days. So in the class, I talk about how a list is a physical representation of what we need to do. One step further, it's a physical representation of all the thoughts that are swirling in your brain and my brain right now, attached to task completion. And we need our to-do list to be functional, to be something that works for us, or at the very least, doesn't work against us. Very often, though, we just add items to the to-do list without assigning any kind of criterion or characteristics, and then the list quickly gets too long and overwhelming, and we may abandon it altogether. Some people ask about mental lists, like, oh, I have the list in my head. And yeah, that's a place to start, but having an actual list affords a few necessary features to a well-functioning to-do list. For example, when we write a list, paper or digital, we have to verbalize what we actually need to do. So we have to put words to it. And once a task is on the list, paper or digital, we can assign more meaning to it in the form of priorities and scheduling. Because, and this is the point of today, all tasks are not created equal. What was that? Yes, I said all tasks are not created equal. And therefore, all tasks on our to-do list should not be listed in the same way as though they are equal. So going back to the Eisenhower box in one of my early episodes, we need to consider which tasks on our to-do list are the most urgent or will have the biggest impact. And we need to focus on those today and this week. So just to refresh, urgent means time specific. Maybe you have work or appointments on your calendar for today, and those are certainly time specific, but tasks might be time specific as well. Like, write article to record for podcast is attached to one of my appointments today. So the task is to write the article, and I need to complete that before I can meet with my producer at noon. In addition, send photos to the dermatologist so that he can gauge my healing and progress is also on the list today, specifically because today is 1 week post-op, and sending a photo after a week, that is part of my discharge instructions. So there are a few other truly must be done today tasks, and then a lot of I hope I get these done today tasks, right? So I park the truly urgent and important tasks at the top of my digital list, and I assign a time and deadline to them. And then we consider the impactful tasks, the high priority tasks, the tasks that move us towards our goal. Now, I have also spoken about needle movers in the last few months, those really important tasks we need to complete to make progress. Of course, knowing what my high impact tasks are for today requires that I know my goals, right? So first things first, as we review our to-do lists, we need to determine which tasks on the list have the greatest urgency and would also have the greatest impact on our progress in life. And those are the high priority tasks for today. And now scheduling. We have to ask, what time do we have to dedicate to these tasks today? I know, right? That's kind of a harder question to answer. But you heard me right. Because here's the thing. We cannot create a to-do list for today with like 28 hours of work tasks on it, all assigned urgent and high priority, right? We can't do that because if we do, you're setting yourself up for failure and frustration, and we still have no guarantees that we will get done what needs to actually get done today. So today's to-do list must match the time that we have to complete the work. I mean, maybe there's a little stretch, or maybe there's a little flexibility, or we, take a phone call while we take a walk, whatever that looks like. But again, we really need to make sure that those two things match. I'm taking a productivity coaching course, and it's really amazing. We are working through a book called The Productivity Chain, The Holistic Way to Spend Your Time on What Matters. And the author, Casey Moore, is teaching the course. There will be a lot more to say about all of that in coming weeks. But goal setting and priorities was one of the chapters in my assigned reading this weekend, and a line resonated with me so much that I wrote it down. Here's the line. Prioritizing tasks can't be wish list making. And that was on the tail of an example of a client prioritizing 7 hours of work with only 2 free hours after meetings that day. So, no wish lists. Sorry. To make a to-do list, right? A to-do list, not a wish list. To make a to-do list that works for us, we need to be aware of what time we have available for tasks today or this week and match up the high priority tasks with the available time. Now, if you're like me, you might be asking, okay, once we've scheduled the urgent and impactful tasks, what about the other stuff? And I'm guessing that's what Kelly was asking about as well, right? So what about all the other stuff that's on the list? What's the process for collecting the tasks that aren't important and urgent for today? And so we need a process for handling ideas that come to us. For example, last week, I thought of a great gift idea for a friend of mine. However, their birthday isn't for months. Now, I could just act on that idea and make it happen. I could do that. But more usefully, I could hold on to that idea and use it when that person's birthday comes around. Especially for me, because in the moment, ideas are often lacking in the moment. It just doesn't always work that way. So my challenge then is, what do I do with that great idea between now and when I need it, right? I need a place to park it so it doesn't get lost. And since, as we said before, all tasks are not created equal, another answer to Kelly's question is to keep a rolling to-do list or a master to-do list for certain, and also keep some subcategorized to-do lists. For example, in this case, a gift ideas list. If you're a paper list person, add another sheet of paper to your planner with gift ideas as the title, and park those ideas there until you need them. Maybe you have packing ideas for a trip in 6 months on the same running to-do list as, write article or send photo to dermatologist today. And we can see that those are vastly different types of tasks. And yeah, Kelly, what a hassle that would be if it was all on just one long list, right? Yikes. I mean, how many times would we have to rewrite non-urgent gift ideas or trip details for 6 months from now, or in my case, a blog or podcast idea, if we treated all tasks equally? But all tasks are not created equal. So consider sublists, either paper or digital, for those not right now ideas. And create and maintain a habit around checking in on those sublists every few weeks to see if there's anything on them that needs to be moved to the current to-do list. If you're a paper person and would like to dip your toe into the digital pool, you might start to use the Notes app on your smartphone for those longer-term items, right? It might be a good place to start. Okay, Kelly, as I consider your question again, how do you keep a running to-do list? I always have such a long list and the items end up on multiple sheets of paper. So starting there, I want to go to what have we learned today, right? So first up, we have learned that all tasks are not created equal. We've also learned that to-do lists are an important and necessary part of our overall productivity strategy, and we need to make them work for us. I personally prefer digital to-do lists for ease of updating and maneuvering the information, but the best to-do list platform is the one you'll actually use. To-do lists can quickly get overwhelming if we don't prioritize the tasks based on urgency and impact. And sublists for some categories can be helpful for holding on to long-term information. What we've also learned is that if we don't actually schedule the work, the list is just a wish list. And the whole point of the list is to make life easier and therefore better for us, so we can get the right things done. So Kelly, I hope you found that helpful. I know it was helpful for me to write it up. And support around getting things done is what productivity coaching is all about. If it's time to invest in yourself and explore coaching for organizing and productivity, I would love to hear from you. Drop me a line via email at colleen@peaceofmindpo.com or message me through my social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Or you can check out my pretty new website at peaceofmindpo.com and drop me a message in one of my intake forms. Thanks so much, and I will talk to you next week.